The Software Leaders Uncensored podcast, where tech leaders grow beyond the code.
You're listening to Software Leaders Uncensored, the podcast for tech execs who want to hear straight talk. I'm Steve Taplin, serial entrepreneur, CEO, and currently writing my second book about what I've learned building 30 ventures, having 20 failures and 10 wins. I've taken companies through going public. I have franchised companies nationwide and raised tens of millions of dollars. The common thread with all of my companies has been powered by custom software. Now through my company Synonify, I help scale software engineering teams with senior nearshore engineers who move fast and deliver. Each episode, I sit down with real software leaders to unpack what's working, what's broken, and how to build what actually matters. So let's dive in. Today, we have the honor of having Rich Wagner out of Houston, Texas. Rich is CIO, partner, AI enthusiast, and SCADA expert, which we're going to talk about because I guess I had to Google what SCADA is, and I'm sure some of our listeners will. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Let's kick things off with a personal highlight reel. In 1 to 2 minutes, walk us through your journey of your career and what led you to be the CIO of SketaSolve.
Absolutely. I grew up in a small town called Harmonsville, Michigan. I started working on a farm when I was 11, and at nighttime I'd learn about computers and computer hacking into the wee hours of the morning, and I did that until I was 17. I dropped out of high school and went to New York City to make something of myself with my computer career. And I met the right people, said the right things, and got into field support at 19 and moved down to Houston, Texas, and ended up going on Google Maps and put in computers because I can pretty much do anything with computers. And I called about 3 pages of companies, and one of them said, you want to learn about SCADA, or supervisory control and data acquisition? And I was like, sure. And then I hopped into the SCADA industry, and here I am 18 years later and 7 different consulting groups later, and gone and worked all over the world doing support for SCADA and human machine interfacing. And it worked in a variety of industries, energy, oil and gas, worked at dog food plants and White Claw plants and all over. So it's been an interesting ride.
So a self-taught expert. I love it. Explain for those less familiar with the space, explain what SCADA is and why it's so critical in oil and gas and other industries.
Absolutely. Supervisory and control and data acquisition is the methodology and management of providing an interface and digital control over hardware devices in the field and how operators interact with those devices in the field. So there's the mechanical automation layer, then there's the digital automation layer, and that is managed by SCADA. So that includes human machine interfacing, programmable logic controllers, also known as PLCs, sensor data, meters, photo eyes on conveyor belts inside of manufacturing. That's all technically SCADA. It's a blanket term.
Okay.
So it incorporates a lot of different elements, but specifically my specialty in SCADA over the last 18 years has definitely been the digital interfacing and communications for these devices in the field.
Excellent. Appreciate that explanation. That was a better explanation than when I Googled it. So thank you.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of responses when I say I do SCADA. I had one guy said, what's SCADA? I said, supervisory control and data acquisition. He was like, so you're a spy? And I was like, no, I'm not a spy. I went, no, I just handle automation in the field. That's all.
That's funny. So you're currently CIO of SketaSolve. Tell us about your company.
Absolutely. SketaSolve is a consulting and integration business for multiple industries. And what we focus on is the whole turnkey solution of providing automation, programming, installing devices, all the way down to supporting enterprise systems and complex designs that span the world. And we've been doing that for the company's been around for over 10 years, and but we've been rapidly growing over the last 3 years. We've established some larger contracts and gone in explosive directions in really good ways, which has been excellent. I knew the CEO, and I met him when I was being SCADA support for Pipeline about 12 years ago. He approached me in 2019 and said, would you be interested in coming on as a partner with SketaSolve? And at that time, I wanted to dip my foot into manufacturing. So I said no at the time, and then came back down to Texas and then joined on. And we've been growing ever since. It's been excellent. And I have a very very supportive and strong leadership team that I work with. And but you can't do anything without the team and the right people to help you grow. So
Well,
absolutely.
you answered my next question before I can answer it is how you landed as CIO. You utilize your network, because I get, certainly being a CIO, CTO in today's environment is sometimes described as impossible. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to appease non-technical executives, board members, investors. You have to balance your technology team, and it's been a tough environment for tech leaders over the past couple of years. So, and we've often seen the life of CIOs, CTOs in this volatile environment has been like 18 months on average. And so that's why I always like to ask how people landed their job, because I know our listeners always look for different strategies. And so what I heard from you is utilizing your network and keeping in contact with people in your industry.
Yep, continuous learning. I like to be challenged in different directions and explore how different systems are designed. And that's specific to my industry, right? So when I got into SCADA, I saw its potential and how niche of a technology system it is. So given my circumstance in being a CIO and how I've established this role, I aggressively sought out these kind of challenges and opportunities. I've done, career therapy and developed my leadership skills and how I manage people and how I create growers, multipliers, I'm sure, as you've heard before.
Career therapy, that's an interesting word. I don't think I've heard that terminology. It's pretty obvious what it is, but I don't think I've heard anyone call it that before.
I actively pursued it because I'm a farm boy, right? At my core, I didn't have a lot of connections in the city and people that I knew in these higher up places. So I wanted to reach an executive level, but I had no idea where to start. So I sought out a career therapist that could help guide me in the right way to be the right kind of leader to establish a good rapport, a good communication system, and a way to help people grow. So that way, which is the most, earth-shattering revelation to me about being an executive is externalizing and growing others is how you grow yourself by proxy, which I found to be a huge and a really big lesson.
You recognized skills you were lacking. You knew where you wanted to go, so you found the right advisors, which I'm assuming were pretty good advisors, considering you're sitting at the top of the food chain in the tech world right now.
I don't feel like that. I feel like I'm just trying my best, and I try to do my best every day, and achieve my goals for our clients and my team members, remove obstacles, and that's how I see it out. Is I really enjoy the people, right? The people are what make business and work good and fun and successful, and I try to pursue it that way more than focusing on any success overall. That's my strategy.
Fantastic. Let's dive in. What are some current projects you're working on, Rich?
Current projects, I actually led and partially developed a artificial intelligence offline system where we use large language models, and we made a shell around it, so that way large language models could be utilized in what's called Purdue communication model systems. That meaning you can't get any internet access from a facility or a plant.
Okay.
And with all the emerging cloud-based technology that's happening with artificial intelligence, that can't be utilized in energy and manufacturing systems because they have no internet access. So we stripped that out, downloaded free models, and started organizing them into runnable interfaces in plants that are trained on the plant itself and the manufacturing facilities themselves. So that way AI can still be used offline in a successful setting. That's one of
the first person I've talked to who's taken advantage of that. That's great to hear. And I never thought of certain situations where you're not going to have the right type of internet access.
Right.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah. We're also working on some leak detection technology right now. And we're also just trying to succeed for our clients' goals and priorities. And that's our top priority at all times. The secondary projects are just trying to establish more of a technology baseline in the SCADA world.
Fantastic. Talk to us about your engineering team. How many engineers you have? Are they in office, hybrid, remote?
Right. We have a mixture. I manage the remote team. Right now we have about 10 and they are mostly around Houston, but we have some that are kind of travel in and out as they wish, some in different parts of the United States. I have a wide SCADA doesn't usually have a direct path from college into this industry. You have to kind of collect people that want to be interested in this kind of industry and want to pursue knowledge in it, because the closest thing to it is going to be electrical engineering or computer science, but both of those are segued into SCADA. There's no college course on it. So you usually have to get one of those two paths, and then you have to go through, if you're going through the automation side and hardware side, you have to go through like a journeyman electrical engineer kind of position, and then grow from there until you can start working with advanced control systems. If you want to do the software side, then you have to come at it from a computer science standpoint, but then you have to also understand the communication systems and how these devices interact with the operators through a series of complex steps. So you got to go through pretty much another set of 4 years of college just in SCADA to really get proficiency at it. So
Interesting.
I've got people that were creative directors. I've got video game programmers. I've got website designers. I've got people that work for the government. I've got people from all walks of life that have come into SCADA because it's a system that you need to learn, which is one of my favorite parts about it, to be honest.
So when you're building software solutions, what's your ideal tech stack?
My ideal tech stack is definitely GitHub or some kind of version and control system. Do a lot of Python. That's just a good baseline to sit on top of pretty much any interface, and it's flexible for operating systems that way. And I'd probably say those are the two baseline right now. There's obviously multiple interfaces for developing off of that, but I'm going to keep it safe with just those two for now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
SCADA systems, from what I researched, are traditionally hardware driven.
Yes.
How do you bridge that legacy world with today's cloud and AI environments?
So the short answer is you don't. The automation world is pretty much 10 years behind any current and advanced technology that exists. And because of the security and secure systems that are required for these plants and these operations, they don't have access to a lot of those cloud systems. It isn't until the data gets the production data and the business data reaches the business network that cloud operations can be utilized. So it's difficult to integrate more advanced and current technology into those systems because of it. But with the emergence of offline large language models and neural networks and machine learning that doesn't need to utilize cloud, those are slowly going to get incorporated. But for the most part, the only way that it can truly be utilized a little bit these days is through mobile interfacing, and that's pretty much the capacity of it right now.
And so it's still got a long way to go in your industry, it sounds like.
Yes, I mean it's kind of like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For instance, there are devices from 1988 that still get used, because they function and they succeed. So why take them out,
Gotcha. So as the CIO here in 2025, what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now?
The biggest challenge right now in my industry, in SCADA, consulting has changed over the last, I'd say, 15 years. There previously was a lot of larger based enterprises and energy manufacturing and those kind of businesses that would, go to job fairs for engineering schools, and they'd have desks and you could apply. But a lot of these industries have established the standard of doing a 70% consultant, 30% employee, 60% consultant, 40% employee kind of ratio. So the consulting industry has extremely grown in different ways. And that's because of, in my opinion, that this could be totally wrong, but I believe that that's because of economic stability and the ability for consulting agencies to be a liquid, and no better term. So how I've been trying to navigate that is by offering a variety of solutions and approaches and different styles of industry. But that, as our business is, that is our current that is a current boundary and consistent consideration that we think about on a regular basis, is how do we make sure we maintain steady, active business on a frequent basis and grow, right? So that's I'd say that's our priority.
Gotcha. So Rich, as a self-made, self-taught guy who went out there and make it happen, putting yourself in the right environments, what's one brutal lesson you wish that you learned earlier in your career as you've now advanced to the stage you are?
The brutal lesson I wish I could have told my younger self specifically is there is no such thing as being self-made. You are standing on the shoulders of people that have helped you along the way, and ask for help. Go that extra mile, which I never had a problem going an extra mile, but I did have a problem not doing it alone. So it was only when I started really utilizing my network and sources and friends that really helped me develop my career in a better direction faster. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So if there's tech execs in your field and they want to get into the SCADA end of things, what advice would you have for them?
Tech execs that
Don't
wanted to
do
get
it.
into
Run, do this.
Man, it's what I'd say is start exploring the Purdue model and communications and the architecture that's utilized in these industrial automation networks, and look at the evolution of physics in the engineering world for hardware devices. That's been changing in great and exciting ways. Specifically, there's a lot of opportunity right now for different lithium kind of packages and things along those lines. I'd say that's probably something to consider.
Fantastic. Rich, thank you so much for getting uncensored with us today. Excited to
Yes,
see
sir.
how you continue to help shape the next chapter of SCADASolve and the tech industry at large. Any final shout outs or advice you'd like to give for fellow CIOs and CTOs out there?
Never stop, never stopping. Just keep going no matter what. You got to go through the water to get to the grass, that kind of thing. But no, final shout out to my partners, David Gale, Jeff Williams, Corey Meehan, and Tyrell Thomas. I couldn't work with a better team. All of my team and teams that actively work with me. The only reason that I'm succeeding and this company is succeeding is because of you, and my partners and I are indebted to you. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rich. That's it for this episode of Software Leaders Uncensored. I'm Steve Taplin. If this episode sparked anything, share it, subscribe, send it to somebody in the trenches with you. Stay bold and keep building. Thank you, everyone.